So, what's good, man? It's a sad week. I had to put my dog down. I don't share a lot of my personal shit when it comes to my dogs and shit like that, but 11-year-old Doberman, Hero was his name. Just, I think old age, cancer, and all those things just caught up with him. So the story of Hero just came down to, I wanted a dog when me and my ex-wife first got together. I had a dog, a Vizsla, Buddy, and his life ended abruptly, right in front of my eyes, right? I was outside in the front yard throwing a tennis ball, playing fetch, one of his favorite things he liked to do, and I'm just throwing the ball to burn off some of that energy, and the ball hit some fluke random ass rock in the yard, deflected, and went out to the street, and he's only doing what he think he's supposed to be doing, and he chased the ball and got hit by a car. Right in front of everybody. Me, my ex-wife, my daughter wasn't born yet, but my stepson was also in the front yard. So that was tough to see him run into the front yard and take his last breaths in my arms. Just picked him up, carried him to the backyard, buried him, cried like a baby, and it was over with, right? I would much rather deal with that than to watch a dog that I had for 11 years. There was a 2.5, almost 3-year break when we went to Belgium during pandemic, and I was unable to fly him to Belgium. So he stayed here with my brother, and when we got back, first thing I did, I went and picked my dog up. One of the first things I did, because I am a dog person, love dogs, love animals, period, but I love dogs because of the companionship, the wagging of the tail, the jumping on you, the excitement to see you, even though they got in trouble just 5 seconds ago, it seemed like they don't care, right? They still love you because guess what? You are the provider of everything for them. Which is why some people don't like dogs. They prefer a cat because they say a cat you can throw outside and you can go missing for months, but that cat is going to find a way to still go hunt because it still has that natural prey drive to go find food. Dogs, they will die right next to you because they will not go and get food. They will wait for you to feed them, which I like that. You know what I'm saying? But Hero was a dog that we brought into the house at 10 weeks. He wasn't my original choice. My original choice was a blue Doberman, which now once I did all my research, probably would have been a bad decision. That dog probably would have been dead and a lot of vet bills years ago because of all that same gene that gives them that blue tone is a mutation. It's not a good thing, and it leads to a lot of health issues. So we ended up going to go look at some puppies, and the puppies looked like shit for the blue ones. And I got on the phone and immediately was looking for another breeder. Found one damn near in Houston. We were in Fort Hood at the time. Found one, they were damn near in Houston, and we drove and met the breeder at a gas station off the side of the highway. Loved the way he looked, loved the way the parents looked, and picked him up and came home. 2 days later, he broke his back leg because my other dog stepped on him. I had a German Shorthair Pointer, Comrade. And he stepped on him because Comrade was these are my toys. You're not fucking with my toys. Don't touch my shit. And the puppy, not knowing any better, went over and just sniffed one. And all the GSP did was jump up and kind of pounce and stepped on his back leg, broke his tib fib. Luckily, I ain't gonna say luckily, but fortunately for us, we needed to get his ears cropped anyway, so this was a great time to do that. So $1,500, right? Ears and fix the back leg on a puppy. Not bad. That's when we found out too, shortly later, that Hero potty trained himself. So me and my ex-wife, both being military, we thought we put the dogs in the kennel. I think she thought I did, and I thought she did, and nobody did. And we came home and there was zero mess but 2 dogs staring at us. Right? So Hero was one of them dogs that was just a fluke phenomenon, smart ass dog, potty trained himself. We didn't have to do a lot of work. Super gentle dog, loved everybody. Only thing that I think he didn't love was just, I think we brought home some other kind of little dog and he just wasn't having it. But scared of death of water to the point where you grab the water hose and he disappears. But if you take him to a lake or a pond, he's the first dog in. It makes absolutely no sense to me. I don't get that shit. But fast forward, we get Hero back. He's a little older, lost a little bit of weight, so we feed him and we started noticing all these lumps all over him. We get back here to El Paso. We have the vet check him out. She squeezed on him. One of them was almost like the size of a good tennis ball on the back of his neck. And we paid $700 and some to get them all removed. And she found one on his leg that was harder than the rest, and she sent that one off for biopsy, and it was cancer, but she removed it. And she said the only thing that would happen with these is that they would come back, and sure as shit, not even a year later, they were all back. And still growing rapidly. But to rewind, the reason why I was so hesitant to take him to the vet for these lumps is because I kind of already figured what it was. It was either cancer or they were just something that was going on with him being 11 years old. So it's like, why spend more money? And when you say why spend more money, and you know, some people will be like, well, that's your dog, you're supposed to. Here's the story. He broke that same leg again, but this time we were in DC. So we already paid $1,500 the first time in Texas. So he's 3 years old now, I think, at this point. And it was snowing. It was Snowmageddon. If you remember Snowmageddon in 2017, 18 in DC, somewhere around there. Maybe it's been 15. Either way, I think it was like 15. Record snow for that area, and we sent him out to the backyard to play, and he was outside just spinning circles and running and having fun in the snow. And I called him up to come inside. He was flying, and he comes up the stairs, and it was vinyl stairs leading up to a deck that leads into the house. And he hit those stairs, and his body weight kept going forward. His legs go under the stairs, but his top body weight goes forward, and broke that same leg again. But this time it's 7, 8 o'clock at night. And no vets are open, so we take him to an emergency vet. And we got him there, and they couldn't do shit for him because the surgeons wasn't there. And all they did was give us pain meds and took x-rays, and that was, I think, that visit alone for a few hours was over $1,000. Then they called us in the morning and said, you may have to take him all the way out to Virginia Tech. And I want to say Virginia Tech is 4, 5, 6 hours away from where we were, something like that. I was on the highway taking him to Virginia Tech to go be seen by a medical doctor and to get the surgery. And another vet locally, I guess they got in touch with the surgeon that was local to where I was at, saying, we got a spot, can you bring him in? I'm like, fuck, I'm an hour down the road, but sure. So I turned around and took him to the vet to have the surgery. $8,500 later. Yeah. $8,500 later. He's walking around on a new leg. So that's $10,000 just for his leg over So yeah, the dog was well taken care of. Let's just say that. Monetarily, love-wise, everything. But it's just one of those things where I can't keep digging in my pocket for a dog that's 11 years old and on the last leg of his life, just for you to tell me what I already know. He's dying. As we all are. We all have an expiration date. But selfishly, what I finally had to go do the other day was probably a month longer than what I should have done it. And that's the part I feel bad for. And I feel like I'd much rather something fluke accident where it's abrupt. There's not a lot of mourning, there's not a lot of deterioration, there's not a lot of throwing up and blood and bloody poops and not wanting to move and in the backyard and just laying down, breathing hard. And took him for a walk a few days ago and thought he was going to die right there on the sidewalk. He just didn't want to move. And I told myself that was your last walk because I can't deal with that. You know what I mean? He just shut down. Stomach started spasming, muscle contractions, all kinds of stuff, and finally made it home. And he started to the point where he drank 1 gallon, 2 gallons of water a day, easy, but no food intake. And you know, as I got him ready and prepared, I finally had to make that call because he wasn't moving. I left for a few hours, came back home. He was in the exact same spot. And I mean, cookie cutter, didn't move a muscle. Maybe picked his head up, put his head down. That was it. And I said, yeah, it's time, right? It's time. I talked to my friend and I told her, it's time. I can't do it no more. And he obviously can't do it no more. I'm getting emotional again. And so I laid with him on the floor and petted him, and I think he knew because he just put his head on my lap, looked at me, tired, exhausted, mentally, physically, and his breathing changed. It got slow, it got steady, it got like, this is what I needed. And I sat there and I was so emotional and so just all over the place, to the point where I looked at the time wrong. And I went and knocked on my mom's door and said, I need your help. And she came out and was like, what do you need me to do? I said, I just need you to just hold the door open. I don't want it swinging and hit me while I pack him out to the car. And she was like, what time is the appointment? I said, 2:30. And she was like, how far you got to drive? I said, it's just right down the street, not even 5 minutes. And she said, baby, it's only 1 o'clock. Here I am thinking it's 2. As I'm having this huge breakdown and meltdown in the living room, standing over his body, as he's just laying there, barely breathing, in pain. Because normally if you know Hero, once you grab a leash and he hears the leash or sees the leash, he is up and he is at the door. I grabbed the leash, he just looked at me and didn't move. No energy, no muster, no will to live. That was tough. So I laid there for another hour, petting him, rubbing on him, telling him it's okay. If you want to go, you can go now. I'd much rather him pass at home, comfortable, naturally, to some extent, than to be injected with a medicine. But he kept pushing, he kept breathing, he kept but he was just in so much pain and discomfort, to the point where he would go hide himself. And if you know dog behavior, like, that's when you know. Like, if I would have opened up the gate, he probably would have been that dog to just wander out in the middle of the street and get smacked by a car, or wander off to go die away from the pack, because that's what dogs do, and most mammals do the same thing. And so I get him to the vet, and I was a little discouraged because I got there, they told me to be there at 2:30. I got there at 2:30. Went in to say, before I packed him in and have to sit there with a dying dog in the lobby, I wanted to make sure that the room was ready and they were ready to receive me before I walked in. And they were not. And I was a little upset about that. The doctors were still at lunch and they were supposed to be back at 2:30, right? And that upset me. I said, I was told to be here at 2:30. Now, if I had brought a dog in here with me, prepared to go back at 2:30, and you're telling me it's going to be another 15 minutes, like you're telling me I'm sitting here with a dying dog that I'm now going to have to pick up again. I don't want to do that. So come get me when the doctors show up. I will be outside. So they showed up. We get there, sign a waiver, sign some other paperwork, paying for the cremation. I told them I want to be in the room. And yeah, as soon as they brought out, it was a blanket in the room with Virgin Mary or something on it, right? Because I'm here in El Paso, of course, so it's Catholic type of depiction of the Virgin Mary on the floor. I broke down and started crying from there because it started being real. Then they brought him into the room, laid him down, told me I could take as much time as I needed. I mean, if it was up to me, I would still be there. But selfishly, I knew that I just needed to let go because he was ready. I needed to let go. And as hard as that is, you know, you try to mentally tell yourself it's just a dog, man. Like, everything dies, and you know what you're getting into when you go get a damn puppy, when you go get a dog, when you have kids, when you grow up and you know your mom and your dad and all that shit. It does not matter. You're never ready. You're never ready, right? Like, I'm sitting here now, my dad's been in the hospital since September, but being in and out of the hospital, emergency rooms, emergency surgeries, and to the point they call us and tell us to put our last wills in place and our affairs in order and do not resuscitate. And I'm sitting here in my house right now saying I am prepared because it's been so long that I am prepared. And I'm telling you now, I'm fucking not ready. You're never ready. I don't care what they say. You're never ready for this type of shit. And he was so weak, I think the sedative that was there just to relax him before they put the medicine in him to stop his heart, I think that sedative had him gone well before the medicine to stop his heart. I could see it in his eyes. He was gone before he put the other injection in him, man. I laid there and I boo-hooed and I cried to the point where I could tell people out in the lobby could hear me, and the lady comes in, she brings me tissue, and that's another thing. There's these rooms that you put us in to mourn the death of our animals should be further away from the lobby so the people in the lobby are getting disturbed by hearing whimpering and crying and emotions and sobbing. That's not my fault. I'm not gonna stop my emotions because of your clientele and the proximity of where your room is to where they are. But he's gone. I had to tell my daughter, because I thought my ex would. She didn't, so I had her yesterday and I told her and she started crying. And I had to tell her, you know, that's just the natural course of life. And we as pet owners, we have to understand that and be willing to deal with that. That most likely the animals that we get, purchase, whatever, they will pass away before we do. And we have to understand that and be ready and willing to deal with that. But a friend of mine, she adopts hospice dogs that have days, months, to live. And she purposely goes and seeks them out from the shelters. She has a whole pack of them. And I asked her, how do you do this shit? How do you do this, knowing that this dog is going to be dead in a few months? She was like, all these dogs were supposed to already be dead and they're still alive because I take care of them and I have them in a thriving environment. I'd rather them die here than die in a shelter where no one cares. In a cold concrete floor, no one's coming through to give them love and attention and affection. And I'd much rather do that than to have them die in a shelter. And I was like, you know what? You're a great fucking human. Not a lot of people think about that. There are so many of the dogs that she has, people have dropped them off because they don't want to pay the vet bill. They don't want to have the dog die at home. That's, to me, sad, right? You get a dog, you know the natural course of life, you know the lifespan. If you don't, you should have looked it up before you bought the dog. Know the health issues, know the average lifespan of the dog you decide you want to bring into your home. Because most dogs, they have something on the internet that you can find, and it'll show you their health issues, their style of living, their everything. You should know that. And I knew that. So I knew that when he got to that 11-year mark, which he did, that it was time, right? Like, he's going to slowly start to slow down, but it just came. I'm not going to say it came so suddenly. I saw it coming. And I tried to prolong it as much as I could. And I think selfishly, I did not take him in to have this done a long time ago when I likely should have, because I think selfishly I was trying to hold on to something I needed to let go. And so yeah, he's gone. And even some of that generational trauma and the way that you're raised came out even in that moment. My mom came out, and instead of asking how I'm doing, how you doing? It's gonna be okay. Rub me on my back. Let me know it's gonna be okay. Let it go. Let him go. You know, it's time. And it was more just callous, you know, like showing that you need to be tough even in this moment too. And you don't. You can be vulnerable. It's okay. Everybody handles situations and death and all that stuff differently. It's okay. I can be vulnerable. I'm not any less of a man because I cried because my dog died. I think if anything, it made me more of a man to show that I have emotions for that shit. I love my animals. And it's perfectly okay, men, women, to love your animal. That's why you bring them in, to give them that love, that dedication, all that shit. It's okay. I just want to come on here today and say it's okay to cry. It's okay to mourn. It's okay to sob. It's okay to boo-hoo until you need tissue. It's okay. It's okay, period. It's fucking okay to show emotion. And my boy, every time he burped on the mic when we gaming and shit, he'd be like, man, shit, better out than in. So yeah, I feel like it's like a fart, man. It's better out than in. Let that shit go. Cry, go in the corner, cry in front of people. It's okay. You're no less of a person. You're not. Get it out. So, Hero, thank you. Thank you for all 11 fucking years of just being the dopest dog that we've ever had, or that I've ever had. We could leave toys, shoes, whatever out, he wouldn't touch it. And he was so smart that when one of our other dogs would get into something, he would walk away and you would have to go find him, because he's like, I'm getting the fuck away from this because you're about to get in trouble. And he would leave. And I'd find him just laying in the kennel, laying on the bed, laying in some random room, and then later I would find something chewed up, and he's like, it wasn't me. You know what I mean? He knew. He was so fucking smart. And such a hungry dog to the point where we had to hide food from him because we couldn't free feed him. So when he stopped wanting to eat, I knew it was bad. And so I held on too long, selfishly, but Hero, yeah. Fuck. They asked me if I wanted the ashes. I said no. This is all I need right here. His collar. His collar. That's all I need. Thank you, Hero, for being a dope ass dog, man. Peace.